Hey everybody, this is Perch, and yeah, you've seen the news. Batgirl is been canceled. Batgirl was a movie being made. Actually, Batgirl was a movie that had been made but was in post production. And Discovery, the new owners of Warner Media, have decided to just call it a day. And this is not, to me, terribly interesting news. I mean, like if somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, there's a Batgirl movie," and what do you think the odds of that getting out into out into the theaters are? And I would have said, well, pretty low because I mean, this Morbius film just sucked and made no money, and it was a proof that you just can't make any superhero film. And Batwoman on the CW did very poorly in the ratings, so Batgirl would be kind of a weird, tangent. The Birds of Prey movie, despite having Harley Quinn with a name actress, it was pretty popular. Didn't do terribly well. I mean, it made back its money, but that's it. It didn't profit, and that was in a much healthier time for superhero movies. So yeah, not a surprise that it got shelved. And Batgirl. Hang on, the Batgirl that they've cast for the movie looks nothing like the Batgirl that people know in the comics. Granted, maybe people don't care about the comics, but still all the same. Like, that's a lot going against it. And like, well, but what if we told you this Batgirl movie was just going to get released on HBO Max? I would say, well, I'd hope that they're not spending very much on it because, HBO Max is also canceling a bunch of series. So I don't know. I don't think this one works. So I put it this way. I see zero surprise that Batgirl was canceled. But there is somebody who was surprised, and that's Jezebel. Now, Jezebel, as you know, is a one of the highest forms of all internet journalism. No, that's not true. But let's go through their coverage of this because this article manages to irritate me on all the levels, as they say. So let's go to Batgirl was shelved despite costing $90 million to make. ... And we have questions. What are those questions? I'm going to guess those questions have something to do with race and gender and accusing the new owners of DC of being hateful bigots. But maybe I'll be wrong. We'll see. Was the movie that bad? Warner Brothers insists it wasn't. Here's what we know. All right, here we go. DC Comics movie Batgirl has been pulled from theatrical and streaming releases despite costing $90 million to make, the New York Post reported on Tuesday. Warner Brothers has apparently killed the project altogether after it had completed principal photography earlier this year and was already in post-production. Now, for what it's worth, people always say, "Oh, it's in post-production, so it's all the money has probably been spent." That's not actually true. Post-production can get super expensive, especially if the movie didn't test well and they need to do a bunch of reshoots. Post-production can cost, what some of the Marvel movies had post-production budgets over $80 million for effects and other things. Look, it can cost money, is my point. But let's see what else the article has to say. And so far, it seems pretty okay down the road. Maybe I'm just being too negative that Jezebel would stoop to the culture war to try and get clicks for their article. But they did say they have questions, so let's see, what are those questions? According to Variety, studio insiders say the decision isn't due to the quality of the film directed by Miss Marvel filmmakers Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah. My accuse them of being a bigot sense is tingling all over the place, but maybe you're wrong. But a shift in priorities at Warner Brothers. Batgirl was greenlit in 2021 as part of a company-wide effort at Warner Bros. To create feature films specifically for HBO Max, Variety notes, but the studio is now focusing on theatrical features, and this leaves Batgirl without a home. I don't buy that. $90 million, I mean, maybe you have to sink some more money into it, but at that point, if your plan all along was to do a streaming film and then you're going to shelve it at that, I don't know. I'm guessing it sucked. But anyway, the New York Post, however, reports that Batgirl had been doing test screenings for audiences in anticipation of a late 2022 debut, and that those tests were said to be so poorly received by moviegoers that the studio decided to cut its losses and run for the sake of the brand's future. Yike. Not yikes. Yike. Anyway, Batgirl was slated to star Leslie Grace as the titular Batgirl alongside J.K. Simmons as her on-screen father, Commissioner Jim. Really? You're going to have J. Jonah Jameson as Jim Gordon? Okay. How many Jim Gordons do we have now? Will the real Jim Gordon please stand up? Please. And Michael Keaton himself reprising his role as Batman. The movie was notably written by Birds of Prey writer Christina Hodson. Man, that's a whole lot of things. There's crazy stunts, crazy drops. Grace has said previously of the film, she's a biker chick, so you're going to see her do a bunch of badassery. There were a lot of long days, but it was so worth it. Now that Warner Bros. Has pulled the movie, fans won't get to see any of this badassery. Although Variety sources say the decision to axe the project wasn't due to quality, I have to wonder if the studio would really cut a $90 million movie altogether solely because of a sudden strategy pivot. They would not. $90 million is like a lot of money. Double X. Okay, who's writing this? A 14-year-old girl? The badassery quote certainly raises a question or two about possible cringy girl boss lines and plot points, but still just scrapping the entire project, starring, written, and directed by women and people of color. Oh, yeah, we got there. Seems dramatic. Seems a little racist. Is that what you're saying here? We've got questions, says Jezebel.com. Anyway, the article continues, only 2 more paragraphs. All the more so given other projects Warner Brothers still appears to be moving forward with. Ezra Miller's The Flash, for instance, remains slated for a 2023 release. This, of course, is despite how Miller is accused of grooming teens and going on the run with an indigenous teen whose parents have accused Miller of grooming their child. This feels like it was written by somebody who is, when you were in school and you had to write like 500 words or you failed, the assignments, you just started throwing in random words and the sentences had these weird circular qualities. Let me read this sentence to you again. This, of course, is despite how Miller is accused of grooming teens and going on the run with an indigenous teen whose parents have accused Miller of grooming their child. What? Okay, now Miller is a weirdo. Miller has been missing for almost 2 months now, evading being served court papers. Trouble started brewing for Miller earlier this year when they had several run-ins with law enforcement of they. Oh, right, because he's a they. I thought he had an accomplice, or maybe he was with this indigenous teen. No, anyway. Several run-ins with law enforcement on vacation in Hawaii, allegedly starting fights, breaking into guest hotel rooms, and making threats to other tourists. Warner Brothers has reportedly been weighing how to handle Miller's upcoming movie, given their recent behavior. Miller again. Okay. But it certainly hasn't pulled the plug on the project. Nevertheless, this next line brings the whole article home. Are you ready? Nevertheless, the studio clearly had no trouble throwing out a movie starring an Afro-Latinx heroine. Grace, her fellow castmates, and others who worked on Batgirl have yet to speak out on what exactly happened, and we all have lots and lots of questions. It doesn't actually say what those questions are because that's where the article ends. I have a question. How much does Jezebel pay? What was this article worth? $200. Okay, that is $200 terribly spent. Well, okay, so Batgirl again, like I said, shocker, character who looks nothing like the Batgirl in the comics. The Batwoman series tanking, various superhero efforts of the B characters like Morbius, bombing all over the place, DC trying to figure out its strategy, movie getting terrible test screening results. Yeah, I mean, of course it was shelved. And by the way, the argument of, well, you already spent $90 million, you might as well spend another 20 and put it out so everybody can laugh at you for it. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You don't want to lose $90 million, and you probably want to fire everybody involved in that. But you don't say, well, we spent 90, we might as well go the extra mile and spend 130. If you spent 90 million and you're confident you're sitting on a turd of a film, you call it a day. You don't release, and you save yourself the embarrassment and make sure you don't spend $91 million. At that point, you get into cost salvaging mode. At any rate, no shock that Batgirl was apparently shelved. No shock that Jezebel is basically casting a cloud of racism here. And that is exactly, when you have a headline that says, and we have questions, was the movie really that bad? And then, you cap it off with the movie that stars the white crazy guy who's evading police is still moving forward. But the one that stars the Afro-Latinx heroine and people of color who are the entire cast, look, let's be honest what's going on there. Anyway, I'm not surprised that Batgirl was canceled. You could have seen this coming an absolute mile away. But there you go. That's today's little movie news. And Jezebel, never change. Thanks for listening.